Hello, everybody. So my name is Tupac Martir. For those who don't know me, don't worry about it. Sometimes even my mom forgets about me. Um, I am the creative director of Satore Studio and Satore Tech, company based out of London, with offices in New York, Paris, Cardiff, and Mexico City. Most of our work tends to be in three strands. We come from live entertainment. That's a really big part of who we are as our own DNA. We have an architectural lighting and media facade design team, and we have an immersive side. So we deal with all the realities and basically, yeah, try to experiment with technology and how we can actually feedback not only in the way of entertainment and the things that we can do in live or within the architectural work, but also as its own means and as a company that is looking to reach out and find new workflow solutions that can eventually help not only ourselves but other creatives, so that we can support them in the work. I'm gonna share my presentation with you now. So if you just give me 1 second, there we go. So yeah, hopefully everyone can see my screen, and yeah. So this is us. I always begin with this. I am Mexican. My parents are Mexicans. I was born in the UK. So Latin American writers have been a big part of my life. Eduardo Galeano is one of them, and he's one of those people that when you read his literacy, it can be something that can be understood by everybody else, and they can see themselves in the stuff that he's written. And for me, this phrase, this passage that he wrote a long time ago, is very much the essence of what we do as Satore, which is we try to find different ways in which we can express ourselves, as minute as they might look. They all add to the story. They all add to the characters. They all add a sentiment, a feeling, an emotion of what our audience should be experiencing. It's not just a decorative element, but each one of those elements takes a participant role of what the story is all about. And we tend to think that a lot of times we are the silent talkers. We are the silent messengers of the entire show. So what I want to talk to you about today is something that we call the cosmos within us, which you might have seen it, you might have not, you might have heard about it, or you heard somebody that told you about it, or you might actually have no idea what I'm about to talk to you about. Either way, here's the bit that you have to know. Cosmos is what we call the first performative art piece in history, and the way that we respect to performative art is a performance that happens in different realities. And the reason we call it different realities is because as designers, as people that live in different ways of expression, our work is in digital, sometimes our work is in physical, sometimes our work is seen in a headset, sometimes it's seen in an AR, sometimes it's in a phone. And so we talk about all this as realities. The different realities also work in the way that we understand the audience, how we want to engage the audience, how we want to talk to the audience, how we want them to have their point of entry, because different audiences have a different point of entry in a different way in which they like it. I always say that for my mom, it's a lot easier to show her Cosmos as a theater piece than it is to ask her to be an interactor and put on a headset. But that immediately blocks some of the things that I could potentially do with her if she was on the headset by just being in the audience. So I had to think about audiences very heavily as we think in realities. It's one with the other, and they're always matched together. We began by doing a proof of concept back in early 2017. We wrote the beginning of this, and then we did a proof of concept later that year in Amsterdam. And what you see here is a very early script that we were just kind of joking around with at VR Days. And you have 4 different actors trying to perform this piece. In this moment, there was no VR, AR, nothing. It was just a normal kind of table read of what we were trying to achieve. The following day, we broke down that that script and rewrote elements of it and passages of it, and we started again from scratch. But in this case, we knew that we were going to have 2 musicians, we were going to have a dancer, we were going to keep 2 of the actors to help us play more, and that came out of the table read. And then what you see in the screen there is the early passage of what Cosmos was about, and it was all done in Notch. That was our original engine. We ended up switching to Unreal for the final piece. But this gave us a very good understanding of what we could do with the music, what we could do with the actors, what we could do with the dancers. It started very, very simple as an idea, and then I think by 6 hours later, 7 hours later, people were asking us what happens next, and we're like, we have no idea. We were just workshopping something and trying to get a feeling and understanding of what was possible with the technology that we were trying to do. In the end, it came out very nicely, and I'm very happy with what it was. So here's a little trailer of what we came up with as the basis of Cosmos.
Memory is all we are, a vast patchwork of moments that define us, everything that shaped our existence. But my own memory is fracturing. Inside this corrosive and degenerative brain, there are holes now. Please, make this stop. I want to remember. I am becoming nothing.
So that was the R&D that we started doing after creating that first bit. And something that we were really keen about was, I'm a drawer and I went to art school. I tried to draw everything prior to putting it on a computer, and we were trying to figure out how we can use different types of styles, different types of techniques, but also different softwares in order to create different a more interesting reality. So this is early drawings of what would eventually become Dragon Sergi in the piece. But we were trying to figure out if there was a way of integrating handmade drawings within more say cinematic or hyper-realistic environments. And although this in the end didn't make it to the piece by itself in this way, there was a lot of the understandings of this R&D that we were doing and iterations of what we're trying to create here that eventually made it to the piece. I was very much a fond of how we could play with scale. I always thought that making somebody smaller, shorter, bigger, taller, all those kinds of things could really be a very nice way of intersect into what our character will have to go through. And one of the biggest explorations, which you saw in the proof of concept, but then came around, was this idea of 16:9 and 4:3 content. At the end of the day, there's a lot of this content around that obviously has been shot for the past 100 years. And so we wanted to see if there was a way in which we could bring it into our space in a non just putting it into a dome by itself and just having one single image, but rather having a dome of memories that could eventually create a closer understanding of you and story. We actually had two couples of children who didn't know each other. This is Reese and Rosie. Reese, at the time we started shooting, was 12 years old. Rosie was 8. And we ended up following them every 3 months. We would go and shoot at the beach, or we would hire a house, or we would go to the farm, or we would do something with them to film memories of them together as a brother and sister. We had another little couple of 8 and 4, and they were hilarious. And we did exactly the same thing. So for 18 months, every 3 months, we would shoot these couples just to try to get true feelings of a brother and sister doing real things, and also growing up together across 18 months. And it brings a very interesting feeling to the piece, because you can actually see how they develop this relationship of brother and sister. I knew I wanted to play more with theatrical elements. At this point, we had all seen what Draw Me Close and Alice was trying to achieve, and I thought there was something very, very clever into what they were doing. So we wanted to, go further in the exploration, create a set that was more dynamic and would allow our actors to move within the scene, to create sort of a Wes Anderson or a type of movement, but also have this Almodovar feeling of a play within a play. And then, taking Terry Gilliam and Peter Greenwood and talking about, the surreality of these aspects and the way that you will imagine or remember your life when you were, that age. So we actually shot this in Luxembourg with our partners Avan, and you can see the set that we created, so that we can have 2 moms and 2 dads and make them appear in different places and have this continuous element of a story that would go as one of the scenes. This is one of our little boys trying to play with a TV that actually was full of light, so we can create this different dynamic on what I wanted from his face. And obviously we had all this green screen behind and things that happen and move in a very theatrical way within the piece, making a bit of an assumption that that there's also other people working around you and doing things around you. So it's a bit meta in the way that we wanted to make all of this. There's as I mentioned before, there's a lot of workflows and a lot of new pipelines that we started developing in order to create this piece. We poor Liam here spent probably a good 3-4 months working in this flower that I needed to create for a specific moment. And the difficulty came about how to create a flower that in which each one of the petals could behave differently, but altogether they could behave as a single one. The way that they eventually the flower has to die, the way it has to fall, all those kinds of things became quite difficult. And not only that, but then it had to be brought into Unreal, and so for it to be run. One of the funny things is we took a pause of the project probably in early May, I think it was, to do another project with the English National Ballet, and we had to do a lot of volumetric work with them. And a lot of the work that we did at that point informed the way that we would then do the flower and some of the other elements that we created. But that wasn't the only technology. As everyone that has seen the piece knows, that we threw almost every single technique and variation of it that exists in the world at the time to it. So we did a lot of Vicon work with facial capture, and in order to get Reese's performance, we did a lot of work with Paddy over there, who is our grandmother, and we did exactly the same thing. We had a quite heavy work with her, and then she also got put onto motion capture and facial capture, and then directing them in space and trying to integrate all these things together. But because we did that, because we did some shots in volumetric, because some other stuff was done on mocap, it all gives this different feels to each one of the scenes. And the important thing, for those that don't know, so Cosmos is the story of Aiken, a 60-year-old man suffering from Alzheimer's disease, who returns to his house to try to hold on to his last memory before they all fade away. And as we're in that space, in that house, we regress with him, and we begin our story from being 4 years old, and how those memories live in his memory, and how he remembers them. And obviously we play around with what is real, what is surreal. We used to have a curve, and in that line, you knew that anything above the line was more real, anything underneath the line was more surreal. And that went from palettes and colors to the way the music is performed, the language, but also the understanding for smells and all sorts of other things that go within the piece. And it was important for us to be able to look at that, so that each one of the scenes has its own variation. No scene actually has the same technique as any other scene in the piece, and there's 15 scenes altogether in the whole thing. So one of the things that became very important for Cosmos was smell. Our two shadow dancers, you can see there, who are they live in the performance area, which is where our interactor lives, are actually in charge of smell, taste, and touch. And we went through quite a hardest time trying to get the correct smells for the different moments, how to actually make them appear for our interactor, which you can see with the stabs. And so we had molecules that we would dip them in and then put them together and put them around. And it was important to do it that way because we had some molecules that could live for a long, long time. So we didn't want them to be lingering around as we were going throughout the whole piece. So that's why they are delivered in that sense. You can see obviously in the background that there's an audience, and that's what makes Cosmos very different. When we say it's a performance that happens in different realities, is because our interactor is in VR, whereas our audience is watching what he is going through. You can see he's got headphones. Our audience also has headphones. We have an 11.2 surround sound system, which means that there's sounds that can live in the environmental layer, come into your ear, go out your other ear, and then go back into the environmental layer. And that was very important because then it allowed us to place all sorts of different things around, and for you to discover and to have this sense that the space was bigger than what it was. Going back to the juice, it's and then you can see here this moment is there's nothing funnier than somebody seeing a juice box and then sticking out their hand and holding onto a juice box, because all our lives we've been told that whatever's on screen is on screen and it should never be physical. And to all of a sudden give somebody the opportunity to find something physical in the middle of a space that wasn't, was very, very, very interesting. We also have touch, which our interactor is going through with our shadow dancers, and that is another beautiful element of what happens to that person. But you can already see the smiles. He's at this moment, he's in the dome of memories, seeing the brother and sister doing all these things, and each clip of the memories is about 30 seconds long, and there's about 24 of them all together in the period of that scene. And what made it really cool is that no one could have ever seen any of all the scenes that we created. So you could say, oh, I saw the girl running in the forest, and or at the beach, and someone's going to say, well, I never saw her at the beach, but I saw her at the Winter Wonderland. And it was all these ideas of people kind of going through it and claiming that they saw a memory that they didn't see. What makes Cosmos very special is that all our musicians are live. This is our two of them. Sometimes we grow to 4 if the audience is bigger. But so cello and violin are live, keys are live. We obviously direct the piece live. Visuals are done in real time. Everything is mixed in real time, but also everything is sent to all the environmental layers, and our audio engine is also done in real time. So we have overall control of the piece. And the reason for it is that as a conductor, you are reacting to what the interactor is doing. And as the interactor is doing things, you are reacting to them, and you're creating things, and you you decide to elongate a piece of music, or you decide to snap into the next scene, or just simple things as just guiding the voiceover actor who is there with us all the time, and how he has to deliver his lines. So he never sees a single thing of the piece. He never sees any screen. He never sees the interactor going through it. All that voiceover is guided by is the conductor and the way that we take him through the whole thing. And the reason for it is because it's such a hard piece for them, for to be they're spinning on a dime constantly. And so in order not to have any distractions, that's why I'm the only person, or whoever is conducting is the only person that they can see. And it becomes a very intimate relationship. It's very close to, I would say, like a first violin or a soloist, in which you're going through it, you're taking the whole orchestra, and you're letting him in and out in the moments that are needed. You can see on the left side my one of our shadow dancers, giving smells to our interactor. And one of the beauties about the way that we do it is we're very flexible in the way that we can set up ourselves, as long as the performance area exists, it's there. So when we took it to Venice, there was only 4 people in the audience. Then we took it to Raindance, and there was 10 people in the audience. Then we went to the IVE Museum in Amsterdam, and we made the jump to 115. And then finally we went to New York, and we made the jump to 150 people. And the performance area got bigger. You can see the screen in which people can see the visuals. It's now really, really big. There's more musicians. You can see our audio engineer on the left. Our voiceover is hidden somewhere behind there. You can see John at the end, who's doing the sound engine. And because all of a sudden the audience really had some really horrible, say, blind angles, we decided to add cameras to it. So then the cameras get intercut into the space, so you can see reactions that our interactor is having, and then that allows the audience to be closer to what is going on in the piece. I put two really nice images here. So this is the first one. So you know how to do with the QR code, and you'll be transported on your phone to one of our scenes. So you can see, I believe it's Aiken's room on the first one. And here's another one. I believe that this is the forest, in which you were taken. Yeah, I'm going to do that for a second. And because the way that all our rooms and worlds are created, I think altogether there were something around 5,000 objects altogether within our scenes, all created in-house, all textures in-house, UVs, everything. So it was quite heavy and laborious to it. But it's when you come to moments like this, where our interactor is going through the forest and smelling the fresh cut grass and feeling the wind moving around them, and all the musicians are going, and you can just see their face and see the smiles and see how they're enjoying this thing, because there's an overload in a certain way of senses, because what you're seeing and what you're feeling is exactly the same thing. It allows you to really be immersed in the world that we've created, and that is what allows you to really engage with the whole piece. Because you have the headphones, you're able to get the voiceover directly into your ears, rather than coming from a left or right, or even more speakers. But at the end of the day, the sensation of someone speaking to you in your ear changes the way that you understand what is happening. So like I said, we went to Venice, then we went to Raindance, we went to the iPhone Festival, we went to the iPhone Museum, then we went to New York, where we did 150 people and 2 sold-out shows. That got us nominated for a Production Guild Award, which we unfortunately we didn't win. We lost to Vader Immortal, but listen, Star Wars is all right. But yeah, we're very happy of what we've achieved. We're very proud of all the work that we have done with it, and we're hoping that once pandemic sort of lets us, we will be able to finally take the piece out on the road again, because at the end of the day, part of what makes Cosmos is actually the business model that we have, the touring model that we have, so that we can actually take the piece to a wider audience. So for those who have never seen anything from it, besides what I've just shown you, here's a little video.
And then I remembered. Memory is all.
Yeah, that's our socials, and hopefully we will be in a city near you. Thank you to the VRAR associations. Thank you to all the chapters. And if you want to get in contact, send me a message, send me an email. I'm around. Cheers.